Brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV.
GameBreaker TV.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to This Week in MMO, or is it This Week in Kinda MMO, episode 135 for March 8th, 2013. You're watching Gamebreaker. I'm Gary Gannon, and coming up today's show, we're talking about SimCity. Get over it. Huge news for EverQuest next. Not really. And a new game from the grandfather of MMOs, Hillary, a.k.a. Pockets.
I can't see your screen.
Oh, I didn't. I'll have to fix that. Yeah. The granddaddy of MMOs making a new MMO.
I could be picking my nose, and you have the camera on me, and I won't know it because I can't see your screen.
Oh, that's perfect. Now I'm not changing it. I've never thought of that, but now I am not showing you my camera.
Yes, I'm excited about Richard Garriott. Not only grandfather of MMOs, but he had some great Ultima series before that. So,
gonna be
talk about that more.
Going to be talking about it. And he usually has great neck jewelry. You didn't notice?
Yes.
Usually
and a big castle.
Yes. All right. So the big news this week.
Hi, I'm Jason.
Oh, yeah. Big news this week is SimCity. It's not exactly an MMO, but I don't know. I posed the question out there, and I got mixed response. I actually asked on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, is SimCity an MMO?" And I got mixed responses. Most of the hardcore MMO people said no, but it feels a lot of the it's massive. There's millions of people playing it. It's multiplayer. It's online. It's a role playing game. You're essentially role playing. If you guys haven't been following it, though, if you haven't been playing it, I can tell you what the big news of the week is that, it launched. It's probably one of the biggest games coming out of the year, and the servers are blowing up left and right, and nobody can practically play the game. And I have to say that this is probably one of the poorest launches I've seen in a game in a long time. Like, it's bad. The other night, I was sitting with TweetDeck up, and I was counting it, and literally about every 5 to 6 seconds, a rage hate tweet against EA and SimCity were coming through it. It was nonstop. It was a PR nightmare. I think you guys pick it up, first of all. Anybody playing it?
I haven't really been into the Sim game since Sim Farm. I love Sim Farm so much. Maybe it's because I'm from Kansas and we have farms everywhere. No, but I actually didn't live. I lived in a city, not the farm. But no, I love Sim Farm. I never got into SimCity. I always just I don't want to make a city. I want to make a farm. I want to grow cows and then put tornadoes in my fields. It's so I never really got into it. But I watched streams of it though, and a couple yesterday there are people who had just mega cities already, just I don't know what it is, miles or something of just pure city and carnivals, and I was like, how? This just released. Did you not fall asleep yet?
Yeah. Gamers, hello.
Gamers. They're gonna burn through content. I wasn't anticipating picking it up at all. It just wasn't really that on my radar. And then it came out that night, and I was watching streams as well. And for some reason, I found it really oddly fascinating to watch, and it made me compelled to buy it. And I bought it. And if you can play it, the game's fantastic. It's awesome if you can play it. I have been having actually less problems than most people out there as far as connecting. But Jason, are you playing SimCity?
No. Like I said in the pre-show, I haven't played a SimCity game for about 20 years back on the Super Nintendo. Really liked it, and same as you, I've been watching the streams, especially about a week and a half ago. Someone was in the beta, and he was streaming a little bit of that. I just thought it looked really cool from there, and even watching you do yours, and I watched Justin from the Republic stream a couple times. So, yeah, I mean, the city size thing is the one gameplay thing, the one core gameplay thing. I'm sure we'll get into the other issues, but in terms of if you could play it, would you like this? That's the thing that people are really. The only thing that a lot of people aren't really happy about because you have to kind of make a smaller city and then link it to other people's cities and so on. So that part doesn't bother me as much. I think I'd still like it if that, but then there's the other thing.
Well, that's where, yeah, like going into the MMO thing, like, you know, obviously people are saying it's like a massive co-op game because you can make pieces of land with 3 cities, or 16 is the most, I think, right now. So basically you can invite 16 other people and have them have other plots of land. And then I have not gotten into this far into the game yet where I can play with some people that you actually start relying on them for resources and things like that. But it's a really interesting like meta game that you can play back and forth with people. So it's not like Minecraft where people could just jump into your city and kind of like, you know, I know the first question that everybody asked me was, well, can I go into your city and like burn stuff down? Of course, I just want to grief. And I'm like, no, that sounds awesome. If we could have like world PvP, city on city PvP, where we could like launch, you know, attacks on each other, that'd be great.
Well, you can do that in Arcade.
Oh, there you go. So
Oh,
there
sure.
you go. Just diverted that SimCity right over to Arcade.
You can
but
a little bit. You can sort of grief other people if you are supplying power to them, and then you like demolish your power plant.
Yes,
like,
and that's the part of the game that I'm really looking forward to trying, because I haven't played with somebody like that. So yeah, if you kind of build your entire city, maybe your whole footprint, and you kind of rely on all your water or something or power from your neighbor, and then the neighbor just wants to be a total douche and just like, hey, I'm just shutting you off, or I'm charging you like 5 times what I was charging you before. I think it's actually going to make for some really interesting gameplay. That is, to me, it is kind of sandboxy MMO-esque. I don't know. I'm kind of
Sorry.
No, good.
I think that with all the issues they're having, I think they're like, well, we want to start getting into this whole online universe thing, so we're going to start putting in some aspects and force it to be online, kind of like Diablo 3 did. And, you know, that was a huge thing with Diablo 3, is how they're like, well, you have to be online. And it made a lot of people upset because, you know, what about people who don't have the internet? Which, who doesn't have the internet nowadays? Some people don't have TV, but they have the internet, or they don't have, you know, I don't know, you have to have electric. Anyway, I don't know, I can't think of an example.
No, but this is what caught a lot of players off guard, because anyone who played any of the sim games, none of them have ever been multiplayer and online like this before, of an always online connection, and they didn't really position it as an MMO or an online game. So people got home, were all excited to play it. You just spent $60 and you plopped on your credit card, and then if you were able to download it, then you were like, why can't I play this like kind of single player experience that I just want to play this by myself for a while and build a city? Like, why can't I do this by myself? And I think it caught a lot of gamers off guard.
People traveling.
That's kind of the argument that I hear people are using too. When some people are saying, well, you play an MMO and you expect that to always be online, you don't complain about that. The difference is that, again, that's required. That's always been part of an MMO, whereas there's a feeling that you could play SimCity without it being online, because that's how the games have been for the last 20, 25 years. But this is something that EA put in ostensibly to create a better experience, to let the people have fun like that.
Better experience.
And maybe for a DRM.
I'll tell you where they really screwed this up, though. Even like, I mean, essentially from tech standpoint, like they launched an MMO, right? It's got servers, it's got massive amounts of people logging into it. Where they really screwed up is the launcher, and with not having an actual queue system. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but basically what would happen was you'd click the play button, it would ping the server to try and log you in. And if it couldn't log you in, it basically said, the server's busy. A countdown timer from 20 minutes started counting down and said, we will try and log you in again in 20 minutes. It wasn't a queue system, though, like we're used to with MMOs that say, like, hey, you're 150th in line. This is going to take you 43 minutes to log in. Here's the countdown. It was just, in 20 minutes, we'll ping the server again and see if you can get in. And if you can't, we'll just start that 20-minute timer over again and see if you can get in another 20 minutes. So people were, and I think a lot of people were even confused by that, because they didn't build a queue system like MMOs do. And it's like, what? That's got to be the biggest point of failure that I've seen in this entire game. It's like, at least if they gave you a countdown and number that you were like, hey, it's launch day, long wait, there's a queue, it's 2-hour wait. At least you could be like, all right, well, it's 2-hour wait. I'll go walk my dog, do the dishes. Come back, and maybe I'll be it.
I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand, like, how you could fail this. It's EA. They have online, they have MMOs. It's like, how could you not just take a couple people from your MMOs and put them in this and go, hey, help us create a launcher, and what will we need to go online? It's like, how hard is that? It's like, but they released the, you know, I like some EA games, and every company makes mistakes, but EA is notorious for making the mistake of releasing before it's ready and not testing enough and not listening and then fixing before launch, like postponing launches due to stuff going wrong. And so it's like, I feel like this is just another example of them not testing it enough and then releasing it anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not on that bandwagon of like just hating EA, like, because I know there's a whole hardcore group of gamers who literally just boycott EA at this point and do not buy their games because of reasons like this, and because they blame EA for, you know, destroying other companies that they absolve and stuff. I don't really go, but there's something. There has to be at some point. There is something going on in the EA infrastructure of the corporation that somehow is creating blockades and obstacles for game developers. Because the guys in the trenches making this game, I guarantee you were freaking out just as much as we were as players. Like, they are going nuts all night, flipping out, screaming and yelling and drinking pots of coffee, being like, we spent years of our lives to make this game, and our fans, who are only pissed off because, which is flattery, because they just are dying to play your game, can't play your game. Like, they're the people, they get it. It's some other thing within the EA structure that just seems out of whack. I really wonder if at the high level they know the sentiment. I think they must know the sentiment amongst gamers that there's like a bad.
It doesn't even matter. The money gets to their head. It's like that's like not a fact, but the money gets to their head and they think, well, we can do whatever we want. And then, you know, you look at something like Warhammer. Warhammer had a lot of potential, but it released well before it was ready. And well before. I'd say it had, you know, maybe another year left that it needed development on it, because I played it and there were just so many bugs that it was just like, wow. And some of the mechanics were just weird, and it just didn't feel like it was ready. Not as bad as Age of Conan, but, you know, Warhammer just, yeah, didn't do so well. And it's not the first time, and people blame Mythic, but I think Mythic actually did a decent job. I think EA got their hands in the pot, and they're like, no, it's ready, let's just do it. And it's like, okay. That's what I feel. But at the same time, I think people aren't surprised from EA games anymore.
No, and I think that they're somebody, one of their executives, PR chief or something like that, he put out a statement saying, yeah, we're sorry that all this is happening. Then the rest of his press release, he says, but there have been 24 million cities, and my favorite stat is 70 million piles of poop have been sent, so the game is really popular. And it's like, the only thing you should be communicating in your thing is how sorry you are and how fast you're going to get it going. Stop trying to keep selling the game.
Right. Like, we know we've got problems, but hey, let's make you guys who can't log in even feel even worse. There's 70 more million cities already created, and you're not one of them. That is bad PR.
That's why you say they have to get it right, and I'm like, well, maybe they don't. Maybe at the high end,
I mean, this is really turning into, I can't remember a launch being this bad. I mean, we're going on days now. It's been since Tuesday this thing is launched, and today's Friday, and it's still in somewhat bad shape. They're doing all kinds of things.
They features off
They killed leaderboards right now from being online. I think they took out cheetah mode, which is one of the speeds so you could play it faster. I guess they thought that should help server performance. And now what's happening, what's really interesting are the reviews. So they got a bunch of initial reviews in, and lucky for them, they went to Metacritic pretty quickly. And Metacritic, I don't think, changes their reviews after the fact. But I mean, it's now ended up, SimCity's ended up now on Amazon with a 1-star on Amazon. A user score on Metacritic is down to 1.6. That's what it, but it's I haven't checked it, but I think it's fairly high as far as their actual reviewers go.
Yeah,
Amazon, even
professional critics who got to actually play the game, it was like in the 70s or maybe low 80s or something. But yeah, the fan reviews are
right. But what we saw happen was I think Polygon. I might get the numbers wrong if I'm going from memory, but I think Polygon originally gave it a 9 and went back and retracted it and turned it into a 4. Like in the past day, they went because of these issues. But Metacritic won't update those numbers, and it still shows that they have a 9 from like those sites, if I know right. So Amazon even stopped selling the game for a while. They were like, we're not even going to sell it for a while until all these problems. I think it is. This doesn't even. It's back up now. I mean, this doesn't even come close to the Diablo 3 fiasco. I mean, D3 looks like they were like, crowning achievement and for Blizzard at this point. If they fix most of that stuff within 8-10 hours, I mean, this is going on days.
Well, it just goes to show that they don't this is why I'm skeptical about games that try to get into the online world. But, you know, if they don't, I mean, I don't know who works there. I don't know anyone there. But if they don't have people who know the online space, know online gaming, and know even MMOs, then you're not going to have a good time at all. You're going to have a bad time. It's like you have to get, every MMO has to have a bunch of people, or every online game has to have a bunch of people who've already worked in online gaming. So that way they can bring their experience and be like, hey, I know how this works, so let's do this. Because there really is no, I want to feel sorry for them and be like, well, you can, you know, still enjoy the game once they get it fixed. But at the same time, there's no excuse now. There's too many professionals that are experienced in this field of the industry that there's no excuse for this kind of like failure on the launcher and then the servers, when so many games have already experienced this and fixed it and know how to prevent it in the future.
If I could give them any credit, it's sort of like, you know, again, we're talking about MMOs. We see this all the time when MMO launches. It's a big popular MMO. There's always going to be queues. There's always going to be some sort of delay to get in. We see how that is. But then when some company like take Old Republic for an example, then they added, you know, a ton of servers, and within a few months they didn't need all of them. Had to consolidate it all back. So it's like, obviously somebody at EA said we need this many servers, and if they would have needed double, or they apparently needed double or triple. But what if they'd been wrong and thought they found they only needed like half? Then that's money wasted that way. So it's a decision everybody has to make when the game starts. How many servers?
I don't say money. This is it's kind of different to some extent, I think, right? Because no, I don't think it would be money wasted. They should have had a system. I think we're talking about server technology. There has to be a way to put in place that they could have like dynamically scaled up the number of servers for launch, and then in a few months pare them down. And this isn't like you're building a community of people on a server. They could have easily said like, hey, your maps from North America West 4 are going to be all pushed over to 3. Like, would you really have cared in SimCity? Right, but would you care in SimCity if it's server merge? Like, you're not like, oh, I'm losing my friends. It wouldn't have mattered. You just tell your friends like, hey, I'm on 3. Like, you just log into any of them. So I don't know. It's a disaster. That's for sure. Everybody's freaking out about it. I think people are starting to. I've actually been having less problems than most people. I've logged in and clocked in a bunch of hours. And the sad thing about this whole entire disaster is, I have to say, if anybody out there is like thinking about buying it, like the game is awesome. Like it's so much fun. It's super addicting. Like they've done a hell of a job like putting it together. It's just it's awesome to watch. It's awesome to play. It's great. And I did not think I was gonna like I would be into a game like this at all. But
I can't play it.
Oh man, they need to get this stuff fixed. Why you can't play it? Just because of the situation that's going on right now?
No, I can't play it because if I play it, it'll be worse than like my League of Legends addiction right now. Like I just won't put it down. I do take that back. I played like Sim People, the one with people. What is that one? The Sims. Huh. Okay. Sorry, I don't really play these games, but I played The Sims, and it was on my friend's computer, and I sat down because she was like, you know, doing something, and then I was there for 4 hours, and it felt like 30 seconds, and I was like, I probably shouldn't play this ever again. And yeah.
Simant, I remember Simant.
The Sim Farm.
Ants. I don't know. I still have to say, people have been asking me over and over and over on Twitter, like, you know, what do I think of it? Should you buy it? Should you buy it? I got to say, I think it is a fantastic game. I think the problems they have right now, if you're okay to deal with them. Again, I kind of don't like jumping on that whole EA hate bandwagon, but when it was that launch night, and I haven't even been looking forward to this, but I can only imagine the players out there, like there's been a lot of people who have really been looking forward to this game. Like this is something they probably pre-ordered, maybe waiting all year for this particular game. And then you get there that night, you've just given them your credit card, you spend $60, maybe you spent $60 months ago. It's like showing up to a movie or something. I have moving tickets, going to like a movie, and then like showing up to the movie, and they're just like, oh, we sold your seats and you got to wait 12 hours to play, or we don't know when the next showing will be. Or, you know, there's a Led Zeppelin reunion, and you get to the thing, they're like, oh, they didn't show up. Like what? What do you mean they didn't show up? I've been looking forward to this concert for 10 years. No, they didn't show up. Like it burns really hard when you want to get in there and play. So I can understand why gamers are just like hate on EA. I don't know. I hope they take it to heart and kind of try and fix the sentiment of why people don't like them as a company.
They won't.
But then I wonder, like, if that segment of the gamer market is actually quite small, and it's like around our circles and the people who are really dialed in and watching shows like this, and in our networks are those people. But there are so many other gamers out there who just kind of like randomly walk in, pick up a game off the Best Buy. Like they don't get this in depth with like thinking about EA as a company, and they could care less. So they don't hate EA, like EA. They don't even care. It's just a game.
It's the loud minority of gamers that actually complain that loudly and that abrasively against something. It's a very loud minority. The majority of gamers, in my opinion, first of all, don't check most online sites, and second of all, don't care if they don't like a game. They just give it to their friend and never talk. I say, oh yeah, I didn't really like it. You try it. But it's like otherwise they just don't care. And I do think that the majority, just EA has the majority, and they're not worried about the minority. Unless, the minority starts to grow. And I think it has grown over the past 5 years. And who knows, maybe something will happen. Maybe they'll start caring one day.
Well, that's what I sort of feel like with this game. This title is so large, and the amount of tweets that were going out, like I said, I was literally counting them, and every 5 to 6, 7 seconds they were getting one. I think now, especially with social media and things like Twitter, like it is really starting to tap in even more for the average gamer was pissed off on Tuesday night when they couldn't get in, whether they liked EA or not. They were pissed and they were confused and they wanted to play their game. So, but
normally I would agree with Hillary, but I think this might be big enough that it might be enough of a wake up call. If anything, if this isn't, then nothing will be.
I would hope so, because I mean, honestly, when the average consumer spends like $60 on a game, it's the level and again, the technical side of launching technically an MMO and servers and the technology, like they can only test so much. It's very hard for them to really come down and factor in every little single thing to make an MMO type launch to ever go off without a hitch. But this level of of a launch, it's not fair to the consumer. And it's not fair to the consumer. And I think, in the days of social media, like bad customer service like this of not taking care of things as fast as possible. I mean, they probably are trying to work as fast as possible, and they will work it out, but it's just going to spread and it's just going to get worse and worse. I'm going to move on. But if you guys want to watch me play it, because it is damn fun, I posted like, I don't know, 2.5 hours, 3-hour video up on Game Breaker. I think we're going to post another one. I wasn't going to put them up. I was just live streaming it, but apparently you guys want to watch me play. So it's up on Game Breaker now. Just check it out. There's like 3 hours of me playing it. And if you want my recommendation, I actually say pick it up. I will endorse it, even with all the server problems. Maybe you want to wait a week. That's fine. I don't know. I logged in a couple hours ago, and I logged in with pretty much no problem. So, all right, next up, let's talk about EverQuest next. John Smedley's playing with us on his old Twitter. So, I don't know, what day was this? This was
like Wednesday,
March 6th. March 6th, this comes across the old Twitters. We like permadeath for EQN.
I was actually excited about this. I wanted to rant.
I know! We all were. We all freaked out. We were like, what? Like he just, and this wasn't part of a conversation. He just cryptically just tweets, "We like permadeath for EQN." Here's what I don't get. I'm not sure how I feel. So long story short, he has now tweeted again. Was that today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
I think it was yesterday. Yeah.
He tweeted again yesterday saying like that was a joke.
And then at the same time, he goes to the office, guys, take it out.
Like, is it like an odd sense? Does he have an odd sense of humor that I don't get? Because where's that a joke? How is that a joke? Like, who got this? Did anybody get the joke? It's
like saying my cat died yesterday. The next day, haha, just kidding. I was being sarcastic.
We're talking about pre-show. This is like Bashiok tweeting. We're canceling WoW.
Is that's so? This is like insider MMO humor. Smed's Smed thinks this is funny. Like it's so like is it so beyond fathomable? Is it like beyond belief that SOE would do something like that? So they think it's such a joke that the entire like Twitterverse would understand that joke and be like, ha ha, John, that's so funny. They would never put permadeath in EQNext. Ah.
Did you see all the, I saw some of the replies to his tweets, and all of them were just like, you gotta be kidding me, this is stupid, I won't play. So, like I said, he probably was like testing the waters on that. Should we put permadeath in? I don't know, let me tweet about it. And he gets just negative responses back. Okay, no, we probably shouldn't.
I mean, I do that all the time. So seriously, I do that stuff for Game Breaker all the time. I'll tweet stuff out and basically ask post something out and just see kind of what the response is like and kind of be like, hey, it's a little frack. You think that's what he did here, Jason? Do you think he's totally testing the water and that's actually was possibly a thought?
It's an interesting way to do it. And for something like something as big as permadeath to just kind of toss that out there.
I don't know, but it's like I'm still trying to find. Let me find now. I want to find. All right. So this is the tweet. We like permadeath for EQN. Like, I don't. Let me find now. Where does he? I gotta find while you're thinking about this. I'm gonna try and find his follow-up tweet.
I already have it.
What does it exactly say? Because I'd like to bring it up and show.
In case people did not catch the sarcasm, I was kidding about EQN having permadeath.
How do you catch sarcasm from that other like? How did it not come through to anyone?
Because
I thought he was totally serious.
You can't be sarcastic in text.
Yeah,
unless you type /sarcasm.
Yeah.
Or like do some sort of like bracket face or something.
Or /roll eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think he might be fishing. I think he's fishing.
We know so little details about EverQuest Next anyway that I guess on the one hand we might have thought that they wouldn't just suddenly throw that out there when we don't even know like how's crafting going to be. Yeah, we don't know anything about that, but he's going to tell us that there's permadeath. I guess we shouldn't believe that.
Permadeath Kappa.
Permadeath crafting. There you go.
Die while crafting.
You saw that wood line cut off a rib or something.
I saw that tweet, and personally, I got super excited. I was like, holy crap, they're going to go for it. Like, they are just going to just balls out. EQNext is just going to go crazy. And I was excited.
The thing is, though, you have to realize that they have to be going for at least something resembling a mass audience. This is SOE. They're not going to make their flagship franchise that niche. So I
emergent gameplay in 2013.
Well, yeah, emergent gameplay, dynamic content, whatever, user generated.
No, dynamic content is last year's buzzword.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was those were 2012 marketing words. It's all about emergent gameplay this year. So
I'm not gonna play anything with permadeath. Sorry.
I can see watching it. I like how Dungeons and Dragons Online did it, where you could choose to make a permadeath character, give it that real Dungeons and Dragons kind of feel to it. So that was what I thought maybe he could have meant. There's going to be an option for permadeath, but forcing it on everyone, I just think that's something they couldn't really do.
Yeah, permadeath is too real life. I play video games to escape it.
For anybody who got their hopes up, I guess it's not going to happen. Wah, wah. All right, so next up, Richard Garriott, a.k.a. Pocket's uncle. He's unveiled a new project on Kickstarter. Was this morning? Kicked off this morning, right? This morning? I think it was.
It has 29 days left.
29. So it's like this morning or last night or something. If you guys don't know who Richard Garriott is, they really need to start teaching MMO history in schools. But he's basically the grandfather of MMOs, most people call him. He started the Ultima series, then he did Ultima Online, which I'm sure you've heard Hillary talk about once or twice on the show here.
Only once.
Only once. Then they moved on. He moved on to games he did like Lineage 2 he worked on, City of Heroes, Tabula Rasa. His list of games is pretty. He's one of like the celebrity developer dudes. Like everybody kind of knows who he is. Oh, by the way, if that wasn't enough, he's been to space. He's been to
but
space.
You gotta add in, he hates MMOs. Didn't he say that? Wasn't he the one that said he hates MMOs after making MMOs? Wasn't he the one that said that?
Everybody says it after the.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's true. Everybody kind of says that afterwards, but he said that
every
and he
week
wants to get back into fantasy games.
Unfortunately, we're so wonderful that you love still doing it.
Keep doing it. Well, you bring up an interesting point though. So I Control F searched MMO on the Kickstarter page in my hardcore fact finding, and found basically nothing. He does not use the term MMO or MMORPG. So you do see fantasy RPG. He says multiplayer. And the big one here, a persistent shared world. So what do you guys, what's the feeling here? Is MMO just is the dirty acronym of like, yesteryear that like everybody just wants to stay away from? Or are you guys thinking that this is not an MMO? Because something is telling me this is going to be one of those games that is going to be basically an MMO. And they're just
I don't know.
all in the name.
I don't think it's going to be an MMO. I think he does want to steer away from that. He wants to create more of a multiplayer universe. And this is going to be a tangent, but
Can you
the
please
persistent
explain the
shared
difference
world?
between MMO and multiplayer universe? Because I'd
Well,
really
well,
like to
the-
understand those lines. Because
Well, what I was going to get at is a multiplayer universe could be something like Minecraft, how you can invite people in, and you're like, hey, come join my Minecraft area. Come join my world. And then you invite people in so you can have, like, all your friends on your world, and you can go around doing stuff together, but you don't have a whole bunch of randoms as well. Like, I think that would be cool if you could actually have a fantasy game where you just invite friends in and guildmates and stuff, and you just go and do your own thing. And I think...
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say I completely agree. I've been saying, like, I can't wait for an 8 to 10 player co-op MMO. Borderlands 2 didn't really do it for me, but it's kind of on the right path. But an MMO that's like strictly cut down to, like, 6, 8, 10 people that you can just play online with, I think that'd be fantastic. Because I think that's what he's going for. You think that's what he's going for? You think it's like a larger than 2 multiplayer, I'm sure, co-op sort of
Here's what else he mentions. If you look down at one of the features, it says multiplayer online game, which can also be played solo player / offline.
Yes.
It's like, how can you play an MMO offline? So there's got to be some other kind of thing. I'm thinking sort of almost like Skyrim online or something, where you play the single player game, but you can invite other people in to do your stuff with you, kill dragons.
Or they slap that in the last second because of the whole SimCity debacle. They're like, make sure you tell them they can play it offline. It's not always online.
Or it could be like Torchlight 2, where it's like you can play offline. You can have your little solo player. You go through and kill stuff, or you can go play with friends as well. With I don't know, what, 4 other friends?
3, 4, something like that.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of Garrett. I mean, I've been waiting for him to make another fantasy MMO style game, and by the looks of it, with 29 days left, they're looking to raise $1 million, and they're up to almost $41,000 with 29 days to go. So I would say Shroud of the Avatar is probably going to see the light of day.
When I looked at this earlier this afternoon, it was 200 and something. So it's been at least like 40 something,
it's jumped
like 3 hours.
Oh,
He gets a little.
You think
his video, he definitely sounds a little. It's like modern, and this is the other key thing to go along with emerging gameplay. Is a lot of the MMO developers are now like, modern MMOs just have left everyone else behind, or they're not as good as they used to be. We're going to harken back to the old days and when things were showing up in Dungeons and Dragons and everything. It's like, remember how good it used to be? Which to some extent does make sense. I get that, but
I think part of this. No, see, I don't take this part of the video like that. I think this part of the video was more to maybe even let newer, younger people out there who may not know who Gary is, he is.
Technically not this part. He gets on about that later. He talks about how they're very good graphically, but they just don't tell the stories like they used to.
But they don't. They really don't. I have to agree with them to some extent. Like, I really do.
What they do is they tell the story that's scripted by the developers, and I can agree with that. That's part of the emergent gameplay phenomenon. And instead of a strictly scripted procedure that the developers have, you get to create your own adventure. And I can certainly agree with them on that. But that's the MMO hipster thing of today.
I don't know. The stories like they used to be. I played Ultima Online. I don't remember any story ever. So I didn't play Ultima. I didn't.
No. But it wasn't really necessarily about. But it wasn't about the story for you. It was about the experience that it created for you, and the story became you and your friends and your players, and that's why you bring it up like constantly, right? Because you have all those stories and memories stored away because they didn't rely on some like C-grade writer to write some bad like freaking fantasy lore like quest, go to this, go to that. The game was built on players creating experiences for other players, which were unscripted, and then that turned into events that you're just like, oh my god, remember when like this happened? Like that was so unexpected. I think those types of stories, which aren't stories because they're not written by like some hack writer, are much more powerful. Like that's why I think games like this coming back.
He doesn't seem like that. He seems like he's talking about like, I had great stories when I first started making games, and now we need to go back to that. And sure, Ultima might have been great. Like I said, I never really played them, but I heard a lot of people that did play them loved them, and then I loved Ultima Online. But like I said, I didn't love it for story. I loved it for killing people and making houses. That sounds weird.
Well, I think he talks a bit about that though, and if you look at some of the ideas he's putting into the game, and he talks about player housing, he talks about there will not be like NPCs standing around with like question marks over their heads to turn in quests and things like that. It sounds like it's a bit more Ultima Online, like going back to more of a sandbox style environment. Maybe he wants to avoid some of the terminology, but I really get the sense of like, crafting systems that really work, meaningful PvP, player housing, all of this kind of stuff. I think what they, it's going to go back to players.
Oh, you're going to hate Scary. Did you see that part there?
What's
meaningful
that?
PvP that minimizes greasing.
I know. Yeah.
You don't like, you just quit right now.
I flipped right by because I just want to block that out because now I hate it. No. Well, looks like it's going to get made, that's for sure. And the development team that he's got on staff is pretty somewhat impressive. It's the average team member has like 10 years of experience and over like a half dozen titles that they've shipped. So more than 50 shipped games.
Oh, I actually want to talk about this though. One thing about people who, not all of them, some people adapt really well with the changing market of the industry, but there are some people where, they've been in gaming for a long time, 10 years or whatever, they become really jaded, and then they think that their way is the best way, and they don't adapt to the market. And I'm not saying you adapt everything according to the market, because then you make a casual game that, if you want to make a niche game, but still you have to sort of adapt and know your market well. And some of these people get it in their minds like, no, my way or the highway. I'm perfect. I get the details right. And you can see that like Mass Effect 3, like the ending, and how everybody was just like, what the heck? And it was because they thought that way would be a great way, the higher-ups. And it ended up being horrible to the point they had to rewrite the ending. And it's like, some people, they let their experience get to their head a little too much, just like some people let money get to their head a little too much, and then it ends up, being a flop. So I hope they don't do that, but
I get this sense that like sometimes when we talk on the show about things like this, we get the sense that there's like this one almighty being behind the scenes that creates this decision that all of a sudden turns into a bad thing. And I don't think it really goes down like that. It's like these corporations are huge, teams are huge. There's hundreds of people, there's hundreds of team managers. Like there's so many avenues and places that things can go wrong. You can't really pin something down on one person or money or this. Like there's so many stories. I think both of you guys know this, especially because, and I'll bring this back, like you guys both I think know this, like you get to hear some of the inside gossip about making games. You go to conferences, you're having beers with people, the stuff you can't really talk about on record, right? Stuff you can't talk about on shows like this. And you always, if you ask questions and you become friends with them, there's always some other underlying story to when games have issues. And it's not like, it's usually not one single person of being like, it's my way or the highway, and this is the decision we have to go with. It's usually a cascading event of like different things that all kind of come into one, and then it becomes a train wreck.
Yeah. It can be, or sometimes just that one strong personality dominates the rest, and
somebody's got to drive the bus.
Whatever.
Somebody's got to drive the bus.
There are times though. There are plenty of times when someone high up. I'm not saying one ruler to rule them all, or one ring to rule them all, and then all of a sudden it's like this trickle down of whatever. Because usually the people who are the highest up don't even know what's going on in their game. They just play it and they're like, oh, it's pretty, and that's it. It's like it's the people
but you have to understand they're dealing with a
in the
whole different
studio.
set of issues. Right, but they're dealing with a whole different set of things. Their business is so different than the people that we go meet at conferences and the developers, right? They've got shareholders and people giving millions of dollars into like making a game, and then gamers and the developers and everybody want to fight and just be like, game's not ready, don't launch. And they're just like, sorry, can't do that. Like people put $500 million into this game. We set a launch date. You guys got to go. Like, it's not really their job. Like I think you always point this finger to these upper people, like with money, and it's not their job to sit around and play the game. Oh, hey, hand me that controller. Oh shit, this ain't ready. That's not their job. Like CEOs, like maybe he's not even like a freaking gamer. He's there to run a business and make like deals with like different countries and cultures and publishing like big deals. He maybe doesn't even play games. It's like the guy who like runs Coke, maybe doesn't even drink Coca-Cola, but that doesn't really matter. Like that's not his job.
Awful.
Well, that's not his job.
Thinks it's awful. He's like, change it.
They're not down in the trenches. Like I know that's the thing. My point is, I know that the people down in the trenches usually know all the same problems that we as gamers know, and they're usually internally screaming and freaking out, being like, we're not ready, this can't launch, this is broken, there are bugs, and then they get hit with roadblocks from other people.
That's
but it's
not
almost
what I'm talking about, though. I'm not just talking about execs. Execs can essentially say, it's ready, launch it, whether it's ready or not, aka EA. EA always does that. They did it to Warhammer. I think they did it to Star Wars. They did it to SimCity. It's like they keep doing it. They're notorious for it. And it's not the people in the studio going, yeah, I think it's completely 100% ready. There's absolutely nothing else we could ever change. In fact, no, we still have 60% that we need to change, but we don't have time or the resources because we have to launch it. It's like, yeah, I think that the execs do have that control to do that. But I do think the people in development, the higher-ups in development, which would be like your producer and stuff, it's like they can make a lot of decisions that will make or break a game. And they have to be really knowledgeable on the game itself and not be jaded towards just their way or the highway. And not a lot, but quite a few game developers actually are pretty jaded, I think.
So I just got to ask, how did your vision of jaded and My Way or the Highway come into Richard Garriott? Like, why did that come into this? Because this is just like you did this last week. No, because you did this, but you did this last week with Camelot Unchained because we don't know much about it. Now you're doing it this week with another Kickstarter campaign that doesn't have a lot of info. And I'm just wondering why you're automatically poo-pooing somebody's like vision for a game, and there's really nothing else like to go on except like some screenshots and a little and like sort of.
I'm just you have a very positive view. I have a very skeptical view. We have two different views, and I'm just providing another point of view for this whole situation. Both of them, Mark Jacobs and Richard Garriott, seem like very jaded people to me. Like they are just tired of MMOs in general. And I don't blame them. Even I'm taking a break from MMOs and I'm just playing them. But at the same time, I think that they're very set on their ways and not really listening to the market as much. So.
Okay.
They're old men saying, "Get off my MMO lawn." My not quite MMO lawn.
Yeah, with their shotgun and their tobacco.
The shotgun that they crafted themselves or that they corpse looted off someone.
Yes. As a permadeath.
Permadeath with crafting.
Yes.
All right, another news this week. ZeniMax have released some beta details around Elder Scrolls Online. So the first beta invites are going to be sent out at the end of March. They're going to be obviously a very, very limited playtime beta approach. So they're going to be focusing on specific areas each time they kind of put this out. Have they said, is it going to be weekends only? They haven't really probably kind of talked about any kind of a schedule yet, except that it's very limited.
Yeah, I don't think they've given exact details on times or how long or whatever.
I think Rift kind of kicked.
Probably weekends.
Yeah, Rift kind of kicked off that whole popularity about like beta weekends and stuff, and now we're seeing it happen with more and more games being like the norm. I don't know. So I guess everybody started watching their inboxes because I guess the size will increase over time, and I'm sure more and more people will get in. But if you guys get into this first small round, it's probably like winning the lottery, pretty much.
Well, they just announced too this afternoon that they're going to be having it'll be playable at PAX East as well.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Just a couple hours ago they said that.
All right, get your asses
to PAX East. It reminds me a little of
it's gonna have like a 5-hour line.
Yeah, also when Old Republic was available at PAX East, that was the first time I think it was playable by the masses 2 years ago. And I got in there, and yeah, the lines were. I waited like an hour and a half, and I was pressed. I was actually prioritized, and I still waited an hour and a half.
PAX East is shaping up to be pretty interesting. You got Tesso hands-on playable. You've got Blizzard showing up to their first conference in like 4 years with something they won't show. They've got D3 console playable and something else. Who knows? I'm sure there's some other good stuff. So hopefully some good stuff at PAX East. Next up, Age of Wushu. Anybody excited about this one? I think we talked about it. It's set to launch in North America on April 10th. I downloaded it. I still have not gotten to play it. I watched Mike B's BFF report on it, which was
the BFF report was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst
thing about
it, falling damage. How do you have falling damage?
Oh, I thought I was going to comment that there should be no falling damage. I didn't know there was.
Yes,
like,
I saw a little negative number come up when he fell a certain distance. Like, no.
What?
Can't do
Even
that.
though they're always flying and falling from like 100 meters, and it's like, how do you? Wow. Yeah. That's kind of lame.
Ruins it.
Any interest in trying it? I'm going to try it. It's free to play. It seems like they've got some interesting things in there. It seemed like, according to Mike B, this is just on watching the BFF reports, that he felt like there just wasn't a whole lot of heck to do. Like he was just kind of like hanging around. But then when he found kidnapping, it was fun for a second, Which seems interesting that you can kidnap people in the game. That's kind of crazy.
But I guess you have to do it when other people aren't watching. His AR was probably doing it right in the middle of the street in daylight, whereas if you're going to kidnap somebody, you got to do it in the back alley, I guess. When it's nighttime, nobody can see it.
That's where you kidnap people, in the back alley.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
You don't just kidnap someone who's in the middle of the street sweeping.
Nope. All right, I'm definitely gonna give it a shot. Anybody else gonna load it up and at least see what it's all about?
I'm gonna give Age of Wushu a shot. Neverwinter's in beta this weekend too.
Yes.
You have to pre-order, though.
Yes, Neverwinter beta is up this weekend. I think it started today, so I'm gonna be checking out a little bit more of that this weekend as well. Jason Winter, follow him on the Twitter at WinterInformal. WinterInformal. And Hillary Nicole, aka Pocket, follow her on Twitter at Pocket Says, and go over to her YouTube channel and all that good stuff, Pocket Productions.
Yes.
And you can follow me at Gary Gannon and follow Gaybreaker TV at Gaybreaker TV. We do the show live every single Friday at 3 PSTs. Come on over for the live show. It is a good time. We'll be talking about MMOs. Maybe we'll talk about more SimCity next week. Maybe we'll have a debate of whether it is an MMO or not.
Maybe it'll be actually, the servers will be working.
Maybe it will. Have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, man. We'll see you next week.